Welcome. This is Enhance Your Loyalty Program, how leading restaurants drive revenue through loyalty campaigns. Produced by Nation's Restaurant News, this program is being sponsored and presented by Thanx. Thanx is a guest engagement platform designed to boost loyalty and maximize customer lifetime value for restaurants. The Thanx platform captures guest data to enable personalized experiences and marketing automation while helping reduce reliance on discounts. I'm Alan Little, and on behalf of NRN, I'll help out where needed for this program featuring Emily Rugaber of Thanx, Brooke Perry of Velvet Taco, Anita Walker of Fox Restaurant Concepts, Joshua Sims Sr. of Big Chicken, and Tom Lockwood of Hop Dottie Burger Bar. We'll hear from that informed panel in a moment after some housekeeping. If at any time you experience difficulties with the audio or the slides do not advance, press the F5 key on a Windows system to refresh your webinar console. Use Command and R keys on an Apple device. If that fails, look to the Help widget at the bottom of your screen or type your technical question into the console Q&A area. That Q&A area is also where you can enter any questions you might have about our topic. Type yours in at any time, and we'll get to as many as we can later in the session. So you know, this presentation is being recorded for on-demand viewing. You'll receive an email with a link when that replay is available. Now, let me tell you a bit about our speakers. Tom Lockwood is Director of Marketing at Hop Dottie Burger Bar. Among other prior roles, he was Digital Marketing Manager for Freebird's World Burritos, Digital Marketing Analyst for Perkins Marie Calendars, Digital Brand Manager for Live Kitchen, and Digital Marketing Specialist for Delaware North Southland Park Gaming and Racing. Brooke Perry is Vice President of Marketing for eclectic food and adult beverage purveyor Velvet Taco. Previously, she was President of Marketing for Original Chop Shop, Vice President of Marketing for Bella Green, and before that held marketing, branding, guest experience, or content development posts at Jamba Juice, Target, and Zoe's Kitchen. Emily Rugaber is the Vice President of Marketing and Partnerships at Thanx, where she has authored guides on restaurant digital maturity and measuring restaurant loyalty performance. Prior to Thanx, she consulted Fortune 500 companies, including SAP, Nestle, and Target on business intelligence, marketing, and analytics initiatives. Joshua Sims Sr. is Head of Marketing for Big Chicken. Formerly, he was Senior Manager of Media and Advertising for Chicken and Biscuit Specialist Bojangles, and earlier, on the agency side, worked with several restaurant brands, including Carl's Jr. and Hardee's, as Account Executive for Lewis Advertising and Media Director for Digital at the Fossil Agency. And Anita Walker is Vice President of Marketing at Fox Restaurant Concepts, the multi-concept operator of such brands as True Food Kitchen, Culinary Dropout, and Flower Child. Earlier, she was Vice President of Marketing and Communication and VP of Public Relations for Macerich, a real estate investment trust with a focus on retail centers. With those upfront notes delivered, we can get to the heart of this program, so I'm going to turn things over to Emily Rugaber. Emily.
Thank you so much, Alan. Hi, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to be here today to talk about how to drive business impact through loyalty campaigns. I am honored to be joined by 4 incredible Thanx customers who have taken time out of their busy schedules to share their success and learnings. So thank you so much for being here. This webinar is a follow-up to the widely downloaded ebook that we recently published, The Great Big Book of Loyalty Campaigns. If you want to learn more about the campaigns that the folks on this call ran, or if you want more campaign ideas, I will provide the QR code for that ebook at the end of the session that takes you right to our site to download the guide. All right, so I'm going to start by sort of setting the stage here a little bit. It is no secret that restaurants are facing big challenges. In a recent NRN survey, 41% of operators said that their sales declined in December 2024, which is up from 32% in November. Not only are restaurants competing with each other, they're also contending with third-party delivery marketplaces and shrinking margins. And the major driver of repeat business, which is the loyalty program, is frankly broken. 80% of restaurants are frustrated with their loyalty programs, according to Q's recent State of Digital report, and nearly half are prioritizing tech investments in loyalty in 2024, which is more than any other area. So I want to start by taking a quick poll of the audience to sort of understand what your challenges are that you're facing today around loyalty. On your screen, you can see 8 common pain points that we hear from restaurants. Please check all the boxes that resonate with your experience, whether it's complicated enrollment, low participation, data gaps leading to marketing sort of targeting issues, digital ordering that's disconnected from loyalty, unclear revenue impact, aggressive discounts, in-store execution challenges, or just general inflexibility of the program. So take a moment to select all that apply. All right, so we are at about 40%. I'm going to give you guys a few more minutes, a few more seconds. Sorry, not minutes. All right, almost at 50%. So let's see what the outcome here was. Looks like all of you are, or a significant portion of you are struggling with not having a way to measure the impact of loyalty. I'm excited to see that one because we're actually going to be talking about that a little bit on the webinar today. I'm not excited that that's the case, but I'm excited that we at least have some content here that will help out there. Struggling around promotion and facilitation of loyalty in store is another one. Gaps in data. So this is all sort of very much aligned with what we're hearing in our conversations as well. So in order to understand why loyalty isn't working, we have to define what loyalty is and have a shared understanding of how to measure success. Loyalty, in my mind, it's not just a program. Sure, a well thought out loyalty program is obviously a foundational element of any marketing strategy, but loyalty programs cannot alone create genuine customer loyalty. A loyalty program is just one part of a broader strategy that results from thinking about loyalty as a business outcome. Delivering a really delightful digital experience that is super convenient can actually be a big driver of Gen Z loyalty, way more so than offering a discount, for example. Personalization in your messaging instead of this sort of spray and pray marketing is something that millennials care a lot about because they want relevance. We define loyalty as a business outcome, and when we look at the sort of business outcome, it's about driving a lift in frequency and ultimately customer lifetime value. But as I'm sure all of you know, getting customers to establish a habit is really difficult. When I speak with restaurant marketers, I get asked all the time, how do you actually influence the behavior of your customers and create raving fans? And I think to answer that question, it's really helpful to have sort of in your mind a customer journey in stages: acquire, activate, engage, retain. Acquire is all about reaching guests who have never been into your business before. Activation is about nurturing those guests who have made one purchase to making that critical third purchase. In our platform, guests become activated when they have made 3 purchases within 120 days. Once guests are activated, it's important to keep them engaged with the brand. We define engaged customers as guests who have made at least 3 purchases ever and at least 1 in the last 90 days. Engaged customers usually make up the majority of revenue. And then last but not least, guests who fall out of that engaged stage have become lapsed. You haven't lost them, but you're going to need to do a little bit more to get them to come back. That's the retain stage. So why does that all matter? Driving activation, engagement, and retention are critical to the health of a restaurant. As I said, guests become activated when they make 3 purchases within 120 days. And the reason that I focus on this metric is because activated customers on the Thanx platform spend 10 times more than a guest who has only made 1 purchase. So getting people over that critical first purchase in a short period of time is absolutely essential. Engaged customers and the associated revenue is the single most important metric that correlates to business impact. What we've seen is that a 10% increase in engaged customers is worth roughly 2% lift to same-store sales. So how do you actually do that? How do you get more active and engaged customers? All right, so this is where campaigns come in. So obviously there are many ways, and I think just one of the primary ones is campaigns, so that's what we're going to focus on today. Campaigns are absolutely essential for personalizing the guest experience based on their stage in that customer lifecycle, ultimately driving increased activation, engagement, and retention. It's critical to communicating the loyalty program's benefits, driving trial, encouraging guests to spend more and to return more often. So let's start by talking about this sort of first phase of loyalty program enrollment. Enrollment is all about establishing a base of loyalty members to set the stage for activation and that ongoing engagement with your brand. As part of the enrollment process, it's important to communicate the benefits of the loyalty program so that new members are aware. That's probably fairly obvious. But with me to talk about this topic, she is an expert in enrollment, Brooke Perry, VP of Marketing at Velvet Taco. Brooke and her team have been incredibly successful at driving enrollment into their loyalty program, which is called the Velvet Room. Brooke, before we jump into your loyalty program and the late night campaign, tell us a little bit about the Velvet Taco concept, what makes it unique, and sort of how you have your loyalty program set up.
Sure. So excited to talk with all of you today. Velvet Taco, if you're not familiar, is a fast casual brand. We have 49 locations across 8 states, and we like to say we're the rebels of the taco world. So we're really reimagining what a taco can be. Our tacos are not traditional Tex-Mex or Mexican tacos. We take global inspiration from cultures all over the world and deliver those flavors to the guest with the tortilla as the vessel. So you'll find flavors from India, Asia, Europe, and the U.S. on our menu, as well as South America. So lots of variety and lots of flavor. One unique thing that we do that we're pretty well known for is our weekly taco feature, or as we like to call it, the WTF. And we run 52 LTOs a year. So every single week we train, market, and run a new taco. And I always joke and say I'm really glad they figured that out before I joined a year and a half ago. So it's down to a science, but keeps things interesting and always moving. Our loyalty program is called the Velvet Room, like Emily said, and it's hosted by Thanx. We have absolutely loved working with Thanx. I think it's the best white label app available on the market today. So excited to talk to you a little bit about how we've really put our loyalty program into action and how it's driving real revenue for our brand.
Thank you, Brooke. I appreciate you saying that. I did not tell her to say that, by the way. So, Brooke, before we jump into the awesome stats that you have seen with your capture rate, I wanted to quickly poll our audience and just get a sense of what capture rate looks like at all of the brands that we have represented here on the webinar today. So capture rate or participation rate, as some call it, is the percentage of revenue that can be attributed to the loyalty program. As I'm sure many of you know, this metric is one of, if not the most important metric in determining loyalty program health, because it speaks to the reach of the program. And it's impacted by two things. It's impacted by enrollment, which is basically how many people have signed up, and then participation, which is how often those people make known purchases at your restaurant. So before we jump into what Velvet Taco is doing and the capture rate that they have seen, I want to quickly just poll the group. So what is your current loyalty program capture rate? Greater than 30%? Between 20 and 30%, between 10 and 20%, that should say less than 10%. Sorry about that. And I don't know. And I think we can look at, sort of a recent metric. So last 6 months, last year, something like that. We just want to get a general ballpark. We have about 30% of you who have responded. We're going to try to get to 40 or 50% if we can before we move on. There we go. All right, we hit 40%. So I'm gonna move us here. Oh, wow. Okay, so more than 40% of you don't know, which kind of speaks to that first point that we had from the first poll there about just not knowing sort of the health of your current loyalty program. Looks like we have some folks who are in that greater than 30% category, that sort of coveted category, and then equal distribution across the other buckets. So thanks everyone for engaging there. So Brooke, one of the most impressive things about the Velvet Room is its capture rate. Velvet Taco has and maintains an impressive 28% capture rate. So Brooke, tell us how you have done it.
Yeah, absolutely. So our capture rate is actually, I checked this morning, and as of the end of January, it's up above 30%. So we're really excited about that. But when I pulled this data, it was at 28%. And really that represents our loyalty program reach. This is the percentage of our revenue that's coming through the loyalty program. And we're able to achieve this by not only engaging our current guests, but getting a lot of new enrollments. And so we, at 49 locations, have over 760,000 loyalty members. If you break that out by location, that is more members per location than Chipotle, McDonald's, and Starbucks. So this is a number that we're proud of. We have worked really hard to make sure that loyalty is always remaining relevant to the brand. And by having such a high capture rate, it gives us a lot of digital marketing influence over our revenue. So we are able to contact and market to 30% of our purchasers. which really makes a huge impact when we need to drive revenue, which I know is something we're all focused on as marketers right now. Moving on to a recent, well, semi-recent campaign that we ran. So, I mentioned remaining relevant is the #1 way that we drive new enrollments. So no matter what the objective is of our business, we're always thinking about how to tie loyalty into that message and to keep that messaging really fresh. So we last year set out to really increase our late night day part. One thing that's really unique about Velvet Taco is that we're open really late. So our goal is always to be the last concept open in our neighborhood. So that looks different in the suburbs than in a more urban market, but some of our restaurants are open until 4 a.m. on the weekends. And so to drive people and awareness of our late night day part, we launched this full campaign called Open Really Late. And it ran for a long time, about 6 months. But it wasn't just enough for us to run a campaign and talk about it. We really needed to make it make sense for loyalty and engage that part of our audience. And so to do that, we launched this bonus point program where if you visited late night and you were in the loyalty program, you got 10 bonus points. And we saw that it actually had a really big impact. We were able to engage our loyalty members who maybe were coming at lunch and dinner time and got them to come back that one extra time and drive that higher frequency. So if we move to the next slide, you can see we saw a lot of success in our late night day part in 2024. So the campaign launched in P2. So this was about a year ago, we were launching late night campaign. And we averaged 9.5% positive same restaurant sales in the late night day part while the campaign ran. Now, that isn't all attributed to loyalty, but we know that our loyalty guests are spending $1.81 more per visit, and they're visiting 5.2 times more frequently than our average guest. So they definitely were major contributors to this and are, quite frankly, the most valuable segment of our consumer. We also saw an incredible amount of new signups and program engagement during the campaign as well. So people were excited about the late night campaign and they were engaging with us on that level. We saw an all-time high in new signups in June with almost 20,000 new members in that month alone. So no matter what the campaign is, we're running a campaign right now and we found a way to make loyalty relevant and part of it to keep messaging fresh. And then just in closing, what I would say is it's not enough to get new people into the program. So acquisition is just the very first step. So getting someone to sign up. Really where we've seen the return is in engagement. So the lifetime value of a loyalty member increases by over 700% after their third visit compared to their first. So as soon as somebody signs up for the Velvet Room, we are trying to engage them to get them to come back for their second, and then their third visit, because that's where we'll really see a revenue lift. And then retention over time, right? You want to make sure not to forget about those guests that you can rely on, and just continue to engage them as they move through the program.
Thank you, Brooke. I think that was excellent. Just to sort of wrap up this enrollment section, I want to just share a couple of best practices. And I think you echoed a lot of these, Brooke. So first, promoting the loyalty benefits is, very clearly is key. You got to make sure your customers understand exactly what they gain by signing up, whether it's in-store, browsing the website, at checkout. Every touch point should highlight those unique benefits. You have to offer seamless multi-channel enrollment options. Your customers are everywhere, so give them multiple ways to join, whether it's online, in-store, via email, via text. And then remember, don't force them to download your mobile app just to participate. You have to sort of make sure that signing up for your loyalty program is simple and accessible. Another strategy is using online ordering to drive enrollment. When a customer is already placing an order and sharing all of their details, they're engaged and ready. That's the perfect moment to invite them to join your loyalty program with a quick, very seamless sign-up step. And then finally, if you're transitioning to your new loyalty program, letting existing members know what's happening, why it benefits them. Consistent messaging before, during, and after the change helps to maintain their trust and encourages their participation. So that's actually a great segue into the next section, which is about transition. So here to talk about the loyalty transition and more broadly about how she and her team are driving activation of guests into the loyalty program. I am lucky enough to have Anita Walker, VP of Marketing at Fox Restaurant Concepts. Anita, before we jump into how you approach the transition, tell us a little bit about Fox Restaurant Concepts and the Flower Child loyalty program specifically.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Emily. So Fox Restaurant Concepts, we are a multi-brand restaurant group. Today we have 12 different concepts, 12 different brands, Flower Child being one of them. Fox Restaurant Concepts, our passion really is brand creation. So we spend a lot of time noodling and creating new restaurant brands. And that's really where our heart and soul is. So Flower Child is one of them. It is our only fast casual restaurant brand. So it's our only brand that we do have a loyalty program with. And so Flower Child loyalty program, we actually launched with another partner in 2019, quickly outgrew it. The Flower Child brand is growing about 20% a year. And we have big plans for hundreds of stores. So we quickly outgrew our original platform and had to look for another partner in about 2021.
And Anita, so as you said, you transitioned over, saw some really impressive results, I think in large part due to how you communicated the transition. And I have some sort of before and after slides here that we prepared. So before we get into the results, tell everyone how you approached the transition, your goal for the change, and how you communicated the changes to your guests.
Sure. Well, we spent about 2 years looking for a new partner. So if you ever want like a full download, just DM me. Emily will give you my information. I know everything about every loyalty partner out there. So we spent about 2 years looking for our next partner. My goals for Flower Child's program was improving execution for operations and our guests in store. A nimble partner that was going to grow with us. We knew we were going to grow the Flower Child business significantly. So I needed a platform that was going to allow me to do that. I needed a partner with a really great Olo integration. That was really important for my business. And so Thanx obviously had that. And then a simple guest transition. So this was really key for me. I had some really engaged guests that used our previous platform and our previous loyalty program, and I was so afraid to lose them. So it was a simple transaction that I was looking for in a new partner.
All right. And then I'd love to have you sort of walk us through the results. I know this is a little bit outdated. I think these are the results as of November, which was when we were about to a year. So we're about to hit that 1 year anniversary with the program. Either way, the results are incredibly impressive. Tell us about it.
Yeah, we were really blown away. Like I said, our most important and our biggest concern were our transacting users. So if you look up to the left of the slide, this is our previous program. Our total loyalty program loyalty members was about 250,000, but we were very concerned about the transacting users, those guests who were like actively engaged and really utilizing our previous program. So we gave ourselves a goal of, gosh, if we can get 50% of them converted, we won, and then we'll focus on acquisition and new guests and new users. So we went through in partnership with Thanx. We developed a very clear and concise communication program with the previous transacting users of our previous program. And we were able to convert, this says 82% of active users, but it's now about 90% of our previous transacting users or active users into our new program. And so almost 100% of them. That just has made me feel so excited. We have our best guests in our new tier, in our new program, and now we can focus on new acquisition. But that was a huge win for us.
Amazing. And we saw some images on the first slide and then another image here. You also saw some impressive metrics around the app and around the Tiers program. Can you briefly talk about that as well?
Yeah, so in our previous program, all we had was an app user. And so getting them converted was our number one focus. And then how were they going to feel about the new Thanx platform and new Thanx program? So 47%, and now it's higher than that, but 47% of the transacting customers in the new program immediately downloaded the app. And we're, like I said, the numbers are even higher now. Our monthly app frequency just automatically increased by 68%. And on top of that, in the period that we looked on this, and this has continued, the frequency in our app, our guests are now coming 2 times as many times. So twice as many times our app guests are utilizing the app to transact through our loyalty program. And so this is without even doing anything. This has told us that the platform is easier to use. Our brand can communicate better. We're offering, better rewards. The marketplace is appreciated. So without even doing anything, our frequency in our app program for our app users is 2 times.
It's incredible. And for the audience, I promise I actually did not put our guests up to saying these nice things. I very much appreciate it. Anita, tell us about the Happy Weeks campaign.
Yeah, so after a year, we really got our baseline and really tried to understand our guests and how they're utilizing our loyalty program, established some baseline metrics. And then after a year, we launched our first really strategic multi-week program. We called it Happy Weeks. And our goal was, hey, can we get our loyalty members to really engage in the brand online? We did a 6-week monthly drop of new rewards that weren't currently in the rewards marketplace. And we did a phased program. So every week, we would market a new reward that would live in the rewards marketplace for up to 6 weeks. So it gave us something fresh and new to talk about every 6 weeks. Our goal was to drive frequency. Can we get those loyalty users to come again because we're enticing them with new rewards? And can we acquire new guests through the campaign? So we just launched this and we just finished and we got our results at the end of December. And what I can tell you is that we were very happy with the results. What we were able to do is our top tier app user and our top tier loyalty user absolutely transacted. We saw that we had an increase in net sales, traffic, and ticket size, all for our best user. And 30 days following, that behavior continued. And so this is a huge win for us. We knew that a strategy like this within the loyalty platform was going to really drive our best guests. And it's something that they wanted to engage in, even during a busy time during the holidays. So we were very happy with the results.
That's amazing. I'm going to shift gears into the next section, which is to talk about activation. As a reminder, this phase is all about getting guests to make that critical third purchase and turning them into engaged customers, someone who is sort of ripe to start to develop a habit with your brand. So with that in mind, you are now working on something new, the activation journey. And I believe this is something you put in place recently. It's sort of a complex series of campaigns set up to trigger automatically based on where new guests fall in the activation funnel. So if they've made 1 purchase, 2 purchases, 3 purchases within a certain time frame, and the goal being to drive guests to that critical third purchase. Tell us about this one.
Yeah, so it was so nice as a marketer to have a very clear target in the loyalty channel. As a part of my brand marketing, where I said, okay, team, we need to get our guests to 3 purchases. There is a real change in consumer behavior and in average check when we can reach that in this channel. So because of that, we were able to put together a very, you guys can't see this, so like a smart person on my team did this. Her name is Amanda and Hannah. I think they're on right now. But very complicated, complex email journey that helps our guests get to a third transaction. And so it follows a guest usability in Thanx, and we were able to build out this email journey in Thanx. So whatever the guest behavior is, it triggers them to either come back, to come again, it tries a new reward. It just all depends on their behavior. And so we've seen some really incredible, this was launched in November. So again, it's brand new data, but we've seen some really incredible results already. So our first, the first metric that you see is our first purchase is up 15%. That's great, but what I'm really concerned with is it working for the second and the third purchase. That's where I really want to see that metric go up. And you can see, yes, that has happened. So our second purchase has, it's showing up 12%, and our third purchase, which is really exciting, is up 11%. That is getting my guests to the top tier, to engage in my top branding. And if those guests are now coming to the third purchase, I'm seeing some real value in the loyalty program. So very successful.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that, Anita. I'm guessing the audience is going to have a lot of questions for you on that. So I'll just sort of wrap up this section to say when it comes to activation, the key is meeting customers where they are and guiding them towards that long-term engagement phase. First, you got to tailor your approach for first-time customers. A buy 9, get 1 free offer is not going to appeal to somebody who's only made 1 purchase. Instead, you got to focus on driving that critical second visit with an incentive that encourages an immediate return. Second, you got to think about sort of acquisition as a long-term play. A single purchase doesn't justify your marketing spend. If you're spending $50 to acquire a customer and your average check is $35, they need to come in multiple times to make that investment worthwhile. And so the goal isn't just getting to that first transaction, it's turning that customer into a repeat buyer. Next, you got to test and optimize regularly. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to activation. You got to run A/B tests. You got to analyze the drop-off points. You have to use automation to guide customers back in. And small tweaks can make a really big impact on overall sales. And then finally, you got to incentivize the early engagement, making rewards accessible after just 1 purchase. Is there something that they can get after that first purchase, whether it's bonus points, a small discount, an exclusive offer? You got to set up automations to trigger rewards and personalized messages, and encourage customers to make that second and third purchase quickly to build momentum. And at the end of the day, activation is all about getting customers from that first purchase into long-term loyalty. So that takes us to the engage stage. I want to focus in this area. You got your engaged customers who are by far and away your highest revenue generating customers. As the most valuable members, they are the most important ones to retain, and thus they should receive the most value from your loyalty program. And you can deliver that value in a variety of different ways that can influence positive business outcomes for your brand, whether it's offering personalized experiences, exclusive perks, tailored rewards, creating challenges like the Happy Weeks campaign that Anita spoke about to drive those incremental purchases from your most frequent visitors. So we're actually going to start, this is Tom up next. So we're going to talk about with both Josh and Tom about the engagement stage. We're going to start with you, Tom. You're the director of marketing for Hop Daddy Burger Bar. We've known each other for a long time, and I must say, Tom is one of the most prolific marketers I have ever met. I don't know what the stats were for 2024. Maybe you know, Tom, but in 2023, the Hop Daddy team ran 185 campaigns on our platform, and roughly a third of those were A/B tests, so multivariate campaigns. So Tom, kudos to you and the team for just absolutely impressive learning and iteration in your marketing. The loyalty program itself has also gone through a number of iterations. You guys are constantly evolving. You had previously had a tiers program, then you added a point system. One of the really cool aspects of the tiers level is you get to unlock a secret burger of the month menu when you reach a certain level, if I understand correctly. And then, for me personally, I am a avid Hop Daddy fan. I think this is one of the coolest loyalty perks that I've seen in the restaurant industry right now. So, Tom, tell us about the Hop Daddy concept. Tell us about the loyalty program, how it's evolved, and tell us about this really cool Burger of the Month program and how you're using it to drive engagement and excitement.
Sure. Well, I think just to what you just said, right? It's super easy to run a lot of campaigns and have a lot of mileage when you have a really good car. So kudos back to you. But I think the really what separates, what I think helps Hop.ed be differentiated is we have a fanatical dedication to quality. So fresh baked buns and hand cut fries, hand spun shakes, all natural meats, which is bison and Wagyu, grass fed beef, all these super high quality components that we serve every day. But the other part is innovation, right? And so we're not doing like a weekly taco feature, kind of like the folks at Velvet, but we're doing a monthly one. And we're super proud of that. There's a lot of deliberation, a lot of delicious tastings that go into that. I've put on a little weight testing all this stuff, but the Burger of the Month is something we're super proud of. And so exactly what you were just talking about with the engagement component, right? These are our highest engaged folks. So going into that ethos of the brand, let's take something we're super proud of and let's put it in front of our top guests and say, here, you get this Burger of the Month for free. But even better, we're going to give it to you early. So it kind of has that secret exclusive component to it. So they get to come in the day before we launch. So example, we launched the Terlingua burger today. The legend guests got that yesterday, and they get to enjoy that for free for the first week when they hit the legend tier. So I think that's a huge perk, right? And we also, looking at the timeliness of the window for redemption, it's great because it drives frequency, which this program of just giving the Burger of the Month has really driven. But it also gets them to fall in love with something that may not be their just regular favorite burger, which is great for them. But if they really enjoy this, we can kind of get them to enjoy it early. And then they're like, shoot, I keep thinking about that burger. I want to come back for another visit, right? So discount initially, and then they get to come in and enjoy it, regularly. And so I think the last bit of it, right, is like, this is a great carrot. This is a great tool that we can use to talk about this, right? So get to run a free ad by talking about it right now in front of all of y'all, but it's something we've added to the welcome series. It's something that we have on the website, but truly we're really just trying to use this as much as we can because we think it's such a cool lever. And, legends get a bunch of other different perks, especially as they level up. But we think this is kind of like the top coup de grace. And so we're really pushing folks to enjoy it.
Sample size of one, but I love it. So Tom, in the prep call for this, we really had to narrow down the list of campaigns to cover because there were so many that we could have picked from. But this one is just so incredible. So I think it really showcases the impact of how a small change in how you communicate to your engaged customer base can actually have a massive impact on revenue. So this one was an A/B test with a control group that you sent out to existing members who had visited, I think, only one time in the last 60 days. So tell us a little bit about this one and share the results.
Yeah, and I think just, looking at Welcome Series as a whole, I don't know, you had mentioned how many campaigns we ran. We have done, I don't know how many iterations, which is really just the name of loyalty and CRM. It's just name of the game is to just continue to iterate and test. So we've tested everything from the subject line, the button placement, are the buttons animated, all the way down through the creative to say the links that we push to you, right? Is it deep link? Is it to the website? So we've tested all those different things. And so the last part of it is, do we do offers? Do we not do offers? And so looking at this example, right? Shake, fries, control. And so we tested it and we have it broken out, for all the different segments in the first 60 days and trying to get folks to be engaged. So we tested fries against the shake, against control. Fries was an overwhelming success. Something that was also interesting when you look at the effective discount rate is that we offer different fry sizes. So there's the large and then there's the regular. So we kind of give folks the freedom. So when you look at the effective discount rate, first of all, the fries outperformed the shake and control, which drove sales. But then the effective discount rate was lower because guests they have the freedom to choose between the larger and regular one. So a win for us in terms of effective discount, but also a win if the guest, just wants the smaller size. So, yeah, just kind of, you had mentioned this thing and seeing all this. And like you said, little tweaks that we can make, small percentages here and there lead to large overall sales results.
Amazing. So the next one we want to talk about is you're doing something really cool with your digital customers. So tell us about how you are recouping lost revenue from guests who abandon their carts.
Yeah, and this one, it's kind of funny because you see it often in retail. Like I think I was on J. Crew the other day and I didn't buy that button-down shirt. And I, kept getting the reminders, and, it's such an easy, simple thing. You see it so often in retail, but you don't see it enough in restaurants, where just a simple reminder of like, hey, you were going to purchase this, and here's the items. Remember this juicy burger that was here. So looking at just the mechanics of the abandoned cart, the way that it's set up, right, is if you were to go try to make a purchase for dinner, and then for some reason, life happened, you were busy, you decided to go somewhere else. What we're doing is we're targeting those guests the next day around that same time and saying, hey, remember, you were going to order last night. Don't forget about us, right? And so, for us, we've had the assertion, and we've seen some good results with it, is that you don't have to necessarily put an offer behind these things, right? So simply just, instead of the 10% or 20%, instead of having a discount associated with this, we've just tried and seen good results of, hey, let's just try some of our top selling things. Here's some top selling shakes, fries, and burgers, right? And let's just test all this creative and see what folks are most responsive to. So this campaign, I believe, was for lunch, but we also did it for dinner. But yeah, just a very simple, easy way to just remind folks of, hey, you were going to order from us. Let's get back into it. And there's effectively no discount. So shakes was the one that ruled for lunch. And so we went with that, and it worked really well.
And it's nice because you could see with that control group that the variant did perform higher than control group. So doing nothing, you actually can measure sort of the incrementality there, which is really nice. Incredible. We're going to talk to Tom one more time when we get into the retention section. So jumping next over to our last guest, Josh Sims. Last but certainly not least, Josh runs marketing at Big Chicken, one of the fastest and most exciting growing brands in the restaurant industry. Josh, thank you again for joining us. Tell us about Big Chicken before we jump into the amazing results your team has seen with the recent campaign around your app and loyalty program. I think you are on mute, or my audio went out. One of the two. Still can't hear you. We are still not hearing your sound, Josh. Panel up on the right, microphone button. Maybe turn up your volume. Oh no. Nothing. Maybe try taking the headphones out. Nothing. We did multiple sound checks. I'm not sure what's going on. I don't know, Natalie, if you can maybe help Josh. We can, well, how about this? We'll jump over to the engagement best practices, and then I'll check back in with you to see if there's something we can do about the sound. Why don't you try refreshing your page, Josh? So I'm going to sort of jump ahead a little bit to the engagement best practices. And, oh.
How about now?
Yes, there we are. Wonderful. Okay, going back to you now. So tell us about Big Chicken. We can't wait. Now we're even more eager.
Yeah, sorry for the technical difficulties. As always, when there's an opportunity to speak, but thank you guys for having me. Thank you for having me. Thank you for everybody that's here. So Big Chicken is a super QSR. Chicken sandwiches. Our chicken sandwiches are without a doubt our best product. Of course, we also have tenders and wings and shakes, and but all of those things pale in comparison to the massive size founder that we have in Shaquille O'Neal, who all of our menu items are personally curated by him. And so we're a brand that kind of goes into the likeness of our founder. And so, yeah, man, I'm here to get an opportunity to talk about how we're engaging. This is really, really cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, Josh, I absolutely love your story because I think it really highlights the power of loyalty campaigns. So you had previously rolled out a loyalty program and app, but prior to this big push, you told us in the prep meeting that you really weren't doing a lot of promotion around it. So you sort of rallied the team around a series of changes to sort of address that. And the results have been incredible. Before we get into the specifics of the outcomes, tell us a little bit about sort of the scope of the changes and the goals that you had for the initiative.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of putting it light too, Emily. As you know, you kind of looked at, you've had a chance to look at our story from this side of the book. When I got here in July, I just got here as head of marketing in July of 2024. So I'm just about 7 months on the job. And prior to that, our engagement inside of our app was literally null and void. We were harvesting app downloads. We were harvesting loyalty people into our funnel, but we literally were just leaving it there. They were just there. We weren't saying hello. We weren't saying goodbye. We weren't even saying, hey, like we got this cool promotion happening. So when I got here in July, the very first thing I wanted to do was to engage with our friends over at Thanx to really find out what are the parameters and what are the guardrails by which, and really just how far we could go to be able to engage and really start to just at minimum introduce ourselves to these people who had downloaded. Prior to that, I think, maybe around the month of May or June, maybe a month before I got here, Shaquille had done a big kind of push like, hey guys, download my app, sign up for loyalty and things of that sort for my concept, Big Chicken. And a lot of people signed up. There was a huge push of people signing up. But again, there was no conversation. We weren't reaching out to them. We weren't providing them any rewards. And so the very first task that I took on was to be able to build this out and build it succinctly with what we had on our promotion calendar and really setting this as our foundation so that we didn't have, just that lack of communication and we could go ahead and start to try to get some guests back merely because we had dropped the ball in communication.
Great. So I know you were focused on improving the engagement of the app. You were focused on activation of customers, which was, what Anita spoke of, and then ultimately driving digital revenue. You made improvements to the app itself. You made a lot of changes to the app, including the sign-up flow, some of the branding. You made some changes to the tiers program as well. So tell us first about the app. We have 2 slides here on the app. So start sort of with the overview of the onboarding flow and how you adjusted that, and then we'll jump into the other changes.
Yeah, so just kind of a reverse engineering here, and I'm by no shape or form or fashion an engineer, but kind of reverse engineering here, just to paint a picture so folks know what our app looked like prior to. Prior to, it was very, very kind of templated, no engagement. The flow of the app did not have a lot of engagement involved. We were not promoting what our menu item, our new menu items were. Our LTOs were not at the top of the flow. We had somewhat of a low UX as it pertains to the app altogether. And that included where people needed to make a purchase. It was just not an easy app to flow through. So what we did was we did a complete refresh. We actually tore the app down to the mere shreds. And we said, what do we want people to do? How much time do we really want people to spend on the app? And then how engaging do we want them to be? So you start to see a pop of colors. The very first thing we want to do is we want colors to pop off. People have gotten used to going into our app and just seeing these bland kind of black and whites and grays. It was like a very gloomy fall day, basically, is what our app used to look like. But then we started utilizing some pop of colors. And then we wanted to be able to have a space where people could be able to have an ease of flow to the menu items that they love the most, as well as any menu items that they had, liked prior to, right? So if you liked our original Big Chicken Sandwich, we didn't want you to have to go too far inside of the app to be able to go straight to the original Big Chicken Sandwich. And so all of those things were a clear delineation for us in how we built the loyalty. That strategy flowed out into how we launched tiers. And what tiers allow for us to do is to be able to quantify just how many visits we have for human beings coming into our restaurant or purchasing through the app. And then it allowed for us to be able to kind of scale our engagement based off of those visits inside of the space, inside of the restaurant or in the app. So it simplified the flow. For us, it really simplified the flow. It gave us a nice bright color refresh, but it also allowed for us to be able to make the ease of flow inside of the app much better for our human beings who are coming to the restaurants.
It's amazing. And it's easy to think, okay, well, you made some design changes and you made it more beautiful, but like, did that actually drive revenue for you? And I think the short answer is yes, it did. Quite impressive results here. So as a result of this change to the loyalty program, some of the changes in the app, tell us what happened.
Yeah, so I mean, just unilaterally across the board for us, when I came into Big Chicken, I set some really lofty goals around digital because we had just accomplished this at Bojangles where I was prior, and we were kind of waving our flag. That's what ultimately got me the opportunity at Big Chicken, was because we went on a tour around the country kind of waving our flag at what we did at Bo. And so here, what we did was by simplifying the model, by making better colors, but by increasing engagement. And when I say engagement, I'm saying going from one message every 30 to 60 days or no messages at all to simply being able to push out notifications saying, hey, you have a reward inside of your app. You should use it, right? Like simple things. Hey, we're running a 15% off on all sandwich combos. You should use it. The code is 15 off BC sandwich. Like these things allow for us on a rudimentary level to be able to drive those engagements. And what we saw was by just simply saying something, by just having communication from human to human, by utilizing the Big Chicken app as our vehicle, that people were like, hey, Big Chicken, good to see you again. We signed up months ago. We're actually ready to go do this. And what we also saw was we approached a tiered method. If we had never spoken to them and they hadn't gone inside of the restaurant or made a purchase in 90 days or greater, we just flat out said, hey, here's a free crinkle fry. It's our fault we haven't spoken to you. Here's a free crinkle fry. And what we know about human behavior is, especially from a purchase point standpoint, is nobody just wants a crinkle fry by itself. They're going to want to get something to drink. Fries are good to eat, but with the salt and all of that stuff, their mouth is going to get dry, so they're going to want something to drink. And so we saw the average price and our average check go up. And then we drove from when I got here in July, a month prior, we were at about 11% of digital sales. And these numbers, as you guys can see, were super low. Across the board, we've driven up to 25% of digital sales inside of the system in 6 months, as well as having 40% of our app go up in engagement, as well as in activation, 23% on the website. And I know you guys heard that. When we first looked at these numbers with Emily, she was like, is this a joke? Like, is this real? Yes, 23% of our sales on digital coming through a website, like we're still in like 2005 or 2006 or something. So this is really, really great. And this is all made in part by us having some great engagement and engaging with the Thanx platform early and often, and coming in, entering in like we didn't know, but we knew we wanted to speak to people more, and we saw that be able to grow our platform.
Yeah, I think one thing that stands out to me here that we haven't spoken of yet is the fact that you were running a loyalty campaign, and yes, there was email and push associated with it, but it was also a big part of it was in the app itself. So you were able to dynamically include promotional content in your homepage and refresh that regularly. And so it just sort of goes to show that this is not just about email. This is about sort of loyalty campaigns broadly across channel. And I think you saw a lot of success with that. So that's a good reminder. So just to sort of wrap this section, keeping customers engaged in your loyalty program isn't just about earning rewards. It's about creating that excitement, deepening the connection to the brand. And sort of how you do that, you got to keep your loyalty program fresh. I mean, this is sort of the point of what you were just describing, or the summary point. You got to regularly engage folks. You introduce new perks, introduce new rewards, new experiences, make changes regularly to the app, keep things interesting. A stagnant program loses its appeal, but small changes like limited time offers or seasonal rewards or just new promotional content, if, hey, we have a new sandwich, doesn't have to be a reward, can reignite that engagement. Focus on exclusivity and experiences, VIP access, member perks, status-based rewards. I think Tom gave a great example of this with the secret menu. Make customers feel valued and deepen their relationship with your brand. The more exclusive the benefit, the stronger the emotional connection. Personalization is key. You got to do sort of automated, targeted campaigns that adapt to customer behavior to ensure that members stay really engaged without a lot of manual effort. Tom, this is something that you sort of spoke about, that sort of automation, set it and forget it. And then finally, you got to test and refine. You got to identify what's working, optimize your best strategies, and then automate the best performing outcomes to sort of keep that engagement high. The best loyalty programs evolve over time, keeping customers really excited and invested. The simple goal, make loyalty feel rewarding, dynamic, and worth sticking around for your best customers. Your engaged customers are your best customers, and you gotta sort of keep them engaged ongoing. Okay, so we are running short on time. I'm going to try to move really fast here. This last piece, frankly, is one of the most important measurements of your loyalty program, which is your retention rate. Most brands have no idea just how rapidly engaged guests are lapsing and ultimately churning from the program. On average, brands have about an 89% monthly retention rate. That's a monthly number. That means that over the period of a year, on average, you are turning over your entire customer base. That's a really expensive problem since, as you know, those engaged customers are so valuable. Brooke spoke about this, 732% more. So even small changes in retention can have a massive impact on customer lifetime value and ultimately sort of same-store sales. So bringing back to Tom here. So Tom, you ran a multi-sequence bounce back campaign. Maybe sequence isn't the right way to say it, but a two-part campaign targeting guests who hadn't visited recently with a simple reminder to come back in, and another sort of offering a free mini shake to those who made a purchase during that period. And the results, again, were really impressive. 120K in revenue from lapsed guests and very few redemptions of the actual shake, the incentive, which made it really low cost. So tell us a little bit about sort of how you structured this campaign and why you think it's so successful in driving engagement and revenue.
Yeah, and I think in the decade plus I've worked in loyalty and CRM, I'd call this one of the old reliable ones. It's pretty simple, right? Like the mechanism is, you look at the dates. We're identifying folks a really slow part of the year leading into Thanksgiving, looking at folks that haven't visited in 60 days. So just a decent level of inactivity from the guest. And then we, kind of branded it Thanksgiving style, gobble, gobble, the treat time, like kind of put the whole creative bit to it. But the whole component, right, is like drive the intrigue of what do you get, right? We don't even mention what the offer is. So I think the key bit is to take those folks and say, hey, behaviorally, they haven't had a visit in X number of days, like 60 days. Let's get them just to visit. That first visit effectively doesn't cost us anything, right? And so from there, you get this bounce back. So we've taken someone who visited 0 times in the last 60 days. And if they redeem the offer, they visited twice in a week. So kind of the main mechanism for it. And again, it's the slow part of the year, huge opportunity to drive sales leading right into Thanksgiving. And as you can see from the outcome, we had some really good results.
Amazing. Since we are so short on time, I'm just going to quickly show this slide. Some best practices here. You got to monitor retention across different time frames. You have to adopt a multifaceted approach. You have to be really flexible. So having sort of a self-serve loyalty platform that enables these frequent updates can really help. And use perks. So sort of in conclusion here, hopefully you guys got a lot of value from this today. The key to driving growth with loyalty campaigns is targeting guests based on where they are in the journey with your brand. When you do this effectively, it's not just about increasing engagement, you're directly impacting same-store sales. We shared this stat earlier, but just a 10% boost in the number of engaged customers you have can lead to a 2% increase in same-store sales. And it requires continuous ongoing optimization. So many of you sort of pinged me in the questions channel here about sort of where you can get more information about this. I really hope you enjoyed all the examples that the amazing panelists offered. These are actually just a few of the examples that we highlighted in our recent ebook. And as I said before, you can download from the QR code on your screen. I believe the links are also shared via this platform, or you can just come to our website and you can find the content there. And if you are interested in learning more about Thanx, I do really appreciate all of the advocacy of our customers. That was very nice of all of you. Thank you again. But if you're interested in learning more, we do, you can always request a demo, or we do monthly product tours. So you can take advantage of that if you just are sort of wanting to learn a little bit more. And with that, I do not think we have time for questions. Yes, the slides can be made available. For that one, why don't you remind me, Alan, we did not make the slides available, or we did?
No, we did not, but there are links to much of what you talked about in the resources area. Also, if so moved and you have the opportunity, you can reply to some of these questions offline as you would.
That's what, Polly, that's what I'll do. I will reach back out to you directly. There was one quick question about sign-up methods. Speaking to sign up at the register, I would just say very briefly that you got to have access to customers wherever they are, and so guests are going to want to sign up at the register. They're going to want to sign up via a bunch of different methods. You want to the extent possible, do as many as you can without sort of slowing down the speed of service. And so, it kind of depends on the concept whether that's something you want to do specifically for your brand. So, Alan, take it away.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, our presenters have accomplished their information sharing mission, but before we exit, I would like to thank today's topic specialist, Tom Lockwood of Hop Dottie Burger Bar, Joshua Sims Sr. of Big Chicken, Anita Walker of Fox Restaurant Concepts, Brooke Perry of Velvet Taco, and Emily Rugaber of Thanx. Thanx is also due a big thank you for its sponsorship. Without which this program would not be possible. When it arrives in email, please share the replay link for today's session with interested associates. And if you've not done so, check out the resources area of your webinar console. As we just mentioned, there are links to all sorts of interesting information relevant to today's presentation or sponsor. Finally, do join us for future NRN webinars. But for now, know that all of us here bid you goodbye and wish you a good day.
Thanks, everyone.